we live? Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful to be together, to have the Farkas family with us to do candles and to do Kiddush and celebrating Bat Mitzvah this weekend. When I used to spend a lot of time at Oat Chaim, a Jewish spiritual retreat center, one of the teachers would, when there was something that people didn't know, but maybe they might have known, expected to know, didn't want people to feel embarrassed, and would say, it's an honor for me to be able to be the one to share this with you. And, I always, I thought it was a lovely way of, making people feel accepted, but I never quite got the phrase until this week, and really felt it. Last night I was working with the Community Introduction to Judaism class, and my place was to teach about social justice in Judaism. And I really felt honored to be able to share this with the group, and that it was my honor to share it with them. And as I put the evening session together, there are classic Jewish texts, Abraham and Sodom and Gomorrah being created in God's image, the holiness code in Leviticus. But rather than just stick exactly to the texts, I offered additional pieces from the great story of the United States and social justice. I spoke as we played the video of the Rabbi Joachim Prinz, who spoke at the March on Washington before Dr. King. And I shared the words that were exchanged at the White House when a Torah scroll was presented to President Kennedy. May is Jewish History Month, and it was just such an honor to be able to share this amazing story of the evolution and spirit. And it's with that sense of reverence that we enter Shabbat this week.
It's a beautiful tune written by our friends at Nefesh Mountain. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Join me. Yai la 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 la, yai la la la. Ine ma tov u'manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. 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 La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. So the Shabbat we're honored to have with us our most recent bat mitzvah candidate. We have Dahlia Farkas and her family, Rowie and Debbie and her sister Rosie, who will lead us in candlelighting for this evening. So ask your family to please rise, and we're honored to have you.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen. And Rowie and Debbie, if you could put your hands on the heads of your children. Oh, well, we don't have this, but we'll improvise. So this is the blessing for children from Parshat Naso, traditionally done on Friday nights. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai v'anav elecha v'yichunecha. May God lift God's face towards you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift God's face towards you and grant you shalom, peace, wholeness, completeness. Shalom, shalom, yasem lecha shalom, shalom, v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom, shalom, yasem lecha shalom, shalom, v'yasem lecha shalom. And now Dahlia will take her Kiddush cup, newly given to her by the congregation, to celebrate this day, and will lead us in the Kiddush. For those who are comfortable doing so, we ask you to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon v'zivanu v'karon v'ma'aseh v'reshit kihu yom te'ila me'kumei ra'eh kodesh v'her v'tziat Mitzrayim. Ivanu v'harta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava, u'ratzon, kinhal pano. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Please take a sip. Enjoy the sweetness of that taste for the sweetness of Shabbat. And for those who are standing, you may have a seat, and we will continue with the words of Yedid Nefesh. Shabbat is our beloved. Yarus Havrecha Kamo Ayal Yishtacha Be'el Muhadarcha Yedid Nefesh Avharachaman Meshoch Avdecha El Ritzonecha Yarus Havrecha Kamo Ayal Yishtacha Be'el Muhadarcha Yael la 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 Yael la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la la. Welcome Shabbat further as a bride. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad Ishriyanu el ha'meuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shemu tiferet v'litila Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor haveracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Itoreri itoreri kiva ha'orech u'miori uri uri shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. You face towards the entrance. Oh, we have shalom ateret kala gam nesimcha u'kezohala doch amudei am segula Oy chala lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Moment. And of course, as we welcome in Shabbat, what more appropriate words than the words Mishmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, the song for Shabbat. Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Tov lahodot l'Adonai, Ozamer l'shimcha elyon, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור, שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר, וזמר לשיעורך עליון. Again, if you're comfortable doing so, please rise. B'chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadosh shmei Rabbah, v'yalamad v'rachirtei v'yamlech malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayechon beit Yisrael. B'agala, b'agala u'bizman kariv, v'yimeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam le'almei almaya yitarach. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitromam, v'yitasei v'yitadar v'yitalech, v'yitalal shemei kudesha. Rechu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata damiran di'alma v'yimeru amen. Ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Rabbi Gorban.
Kendra Berman.
I'll be happy to continue. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher bidbaro mariv arabim mariv arabim בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, ברשמרותיהם, ברקיע כרצונו. Everyone, יאללה לה לה 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 la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la la. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Your love, O God, is reflected in our ability to love. Your compassion is reflected in the lives of the compassionate. Our ancestors were such people. Through their vision of you, they learned the laws of life. May we be worthy to learn them too. Creator of mercy, open our hearts. Source of compassion, lead us to learning, that learning may lead us to deeds and may lead us to teaching others. May our eyes light up with Torah. May our hearts cling to mitzvot. May our trust in you lead us to gladness and joy. All praise to you, Adonai, who gives the Torah to the people Israel with the blessing of love. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. Adonai, our God, you freed us from bondage in the land of Egypt. With courage, commitment, and in community, we crossed the sea and we rejoiced. We seek redemption again, Adonai, from the bondage of hatred, the slavery of poverty, and the evil of violence in our world. Give us the courage to toil for wisdom, justice, and understanding. May we rejoice again in community, giving voice to one another in peace and harmony. Baruch atah Adonai God Yisrael. sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily to run from right, O Adonai. Amen. 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 Baruch atah Adonai haporesu kat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Dahlia, would you please lead us in Yismechu this evening?
Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat.
Mekadeshi, Mekadeshi Shavi Shabbat, Kulam Yisbe'u, V'yitangu mitu v'chashabat.
Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat.
Rashvi Ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, Chemdat Yamim oto karata Shabbat.
Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat.
Zecher lemase v'reishit Shabbat, Zecher lemase v'reishit Shabbat.
Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malchuteha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat b'koreh oneg Shabbat.
Thank you so much for leading us. We look forward to more beautiful words from you tomorrow. Now we turn to the words of our Amidah and join together. Adonai sefatai tifta ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tifta ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Kol Me'el Chasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה ששמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללו חסלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הדור.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Sabbath holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Sabbath memories glowing even in darkness, for Sabbath peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh ha-Shabbat. Be gracious, Adonai our God, to your people. Receive our prayers with love. O may our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. Our eyes behold your presence in our midst. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'tzion.
Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulechana el lehodot. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech hador bechol hashamot. Ki ata hu melech hador bechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשומך. Shalom Rav Baruch Ata Adonai, Hamevarech et Amo Yisrael Bashalom. With prayers of peace on our hearts, we turn to the prayers of our hearts. I invite you now to offer your personal prayers.
Shalom, Imromav, Huyase Shalom, Hallelujah, Ve'al Kol Israel, Ve'imeru Amen. Ose Shalom, Imromav, Huyase Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Israel, Ve'imeru Amen. Ose Shalom, Imromav, Huyase Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Israel, Ve'imeru Amen, Ve'imeru Amen. During our Misha B'Rach, for those who would like to add names of those they're thinking of, who are in need of healing of body, of healing of soul, healing of spirit, please feel free to add those to the chat. When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you do get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in reverse, and the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Light will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. B'kor habracha v'imotenu, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. And the Shabbat, just a moment. please.
This Shabbat, we think of Tony Linder, Abra Butler, Michael Butler, Tom Brown, Emily Walden, Weston Mason, Susan Horn, George Gurneth, Kathy Lowry, Larry Wang, Marcy Rosen, Michael Tillman, Larry, Rav Rachel Bat Shmuel Ufruma, Chana Rachel Bat Betty, Jerry Spargle, Shirley Spargle, Carlotta Page, Neil Santoriello, Lori Cunningham, Eric Beckman, Maury Valenti, Terry Walsh, Edward Baldinger, Priscilla Wade, Flynn Wecht, Steve Eng, Kay Santuro, Liz Myers, David May, Murray Hoffman, David, Sheila, and Michael.
B'kor habracha ve'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. What's your generation? This week, I was speaking to a friend, and she began to tell me about the different names for the generations. I think I know 2.5 of the names. I knew boomers, millennials, and Gen X. I knew the name, but not exactly what it was. In fact, there are 6 different generations. Think a minute, take a stab. You can write in the chat. How many of those 6 different generations can you name? So here's the list. The GI generation, also called the greatest generation. The life of this generation was defined by the experience of World War II. The silent generation. The television show Mad Men spans this generation. Boomers, yes, so many. They are the Save the World revolutionaries, followed by the party-hardy yuppies. Generation X, too young to be an uppie, too old to be a millennial, entrepreneurial and individual. Generation Y, millennium, folks born 1981 through 2000. And lastly, Gen Z, also called boomlets. So I've been a rabbi for over 30 years now. And that time I've seen different waves, different generations of Jews in the Reform movement. And so here are a few of those generations that I've seen. Some of them are my unofficial names. Classical Reform Jews. I started out as one of them. We grew up with the Human Prayer Book. We memorized, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Grant us peace, thy most precious gift." The words still inspire us today. And some people are not fond of the Union Prayer Book, but to me, it creates an experience of majesty, which in many ways is unmatched. The Nifty generation. Many of us who grew up, including Rabbi Gibson, this was our generation. Camp, song leaders, youth group, social action defined us. The traditionalists, Reformed Jews and rabbis who wanted a greater attachment to Torah study, much more Hebrew, and greater observance. And the spiritual generation. When I grew up and when I was at HUC, In 5 years there, we only spent 2 hours talking about Jewish mysticism. HUC-JR in New York now has a spirituality initiative. There's meditation, spiritual direction, and even Torah yoga. The multiplicity of Reform Judaism in our generations. I appreciate and value each. But tonight, I want to focus a little bit on the classical reform. And this as we're entering Jewish History Month. Am I serious? No, I'm not planning to go back to the old prayer book. And why admire the prayer book? And I still have fond memories of Gates of Repentance and singing All the World Shall Come to Serve Thee. My passion is for the intellectual radicalism of the early Reformed Jews. They grew up as Orthodox in Europe, and with their belief, they grew. They moved from the image of God in antiquity and the Middle Ages. They transformed the language of the prayer book, from moving today from its male origins. But look at some of the beliefs of this first generation. Instead of chosenness, they saw Jews as the elect of God, They said, we recognize in every religion an attempt to grasp the infinite. In the place of a supernatural Messiah who will come at the end of days, they said, in the modern era of universal culture of heart and intellect, the approaching realization of Israel's great messianic hope for the establishment of the kingdom of truth, justice, and peace for all men. Please pardon the male language, I'm quoting from the original. And in place of bodily resurrection, we reject ideas as not rooted in Judaism, beliefs in bodily resurrection, in Gehenna, in Eden, the ideas of hell and paradise as abodes for everlasting reward and punishment. Full disclosure, the classical Reformed Jews did not believe in the state of Israel. They didn't connect with mitzvot and other things that are important to us today. Reformed Judaism has evolved, and that's what it meant to be. But I have tremendous admiration for the radical ideas. And as an interim rabbi, I've had the honor of serving many congregations that were founding members of then the Union of American Hebrew Congregations. I even, when I was in Savannah, saw a receipt that was sent to the congregation in Savannah for their UAHC dues, which were $35 that year. Just amazing. And I had the honor of being the interim rabbi at Har Sinai Congregation in Baltimore. The first rabbi there was Rabbi David Einhorn. He came in 1855. And Rabbi Einhorn epitomizes the Reform movement and the belief in universal justice. On April 19, 1861, just as the Civil War was about to begin, Rabbi Einhorn delivered a sermon which fiercely denounced slavery. This was a response to an Orthodox rabbi that supported the existence of slavery. Einhorn called it a deplorable farce and argued that the institution of slavery in the South was inconsistent with Jewish values. A riot broke out in response to his sermon. The mob wanted to tar and feather him. He fled to Philadelphia, where he became the spiritual leader of Knesset Israel congregation. Most of Rabbi Einhorn's papers are in German, the language of Reform Judaism of that time. But I want to share with you a few excerpts from a sermon that he gave called War with Amalek. And you'll see what this majesty, and you can picture the belief system. You can picture the images that Rabbi Einhorn represented. War with Amalek is a war against evil continuing from generation to generation. In this generation, the necessity is presented to us of a war against the enslavement of race, which has brought the Republic to the verge of destruction against an Amalek seed, which is turned into a blood-drenched dragon seed. Or is it anything else but a deed of Amalek, rebellion against God to enslave beings created in his image and to denigrate them to the state of beasts, having no will of their own? Is it anything else but an act of ruthless and wicked violence to reduce defenseless human beings to the state of merchandise and relentlessly to tear them away from the hearts of husbands, wives, parents, and children? We're told that this crime rests upon a historical right. But pray, can ancient custom and deed convert an atrocious wrong into a right? The law of God was intended for human beings and is therefore a law of education, affording to the human mind the most powerful impulse for development. It is only the slaves of the letter that deny this capacity of development. It is only they that convert the letter of the Bible into a slavery whip. The enslavement of conscience, the attempt to make Christianity the American state religion, predicts a worse war would result between the sects, and of the Constitution with the view of securing peace, tranquility, justice, and the welfare of the United States, as though the present bloody conflict and the ruling corruption owed their origin to a want of Christian belief, as though ministers of the South and their sermons in defense of slavery did not refer to the authority of Christianity. War against the enslavement of the spirit by materialism, sloth, apathy towards Judaism. There would be no Jewish smugglers to say that such great offenses are not committed also by members of other denominations as often as, and perhaps oftener than, our own co-religionists, or that the old saying, little rogues are brought to punishment whereas big ones are allowed to escape, is not exemplified also in our country. The crime is far greater when committed by a Jew, because he must know the whole Jewish community is made accountable for his offense, that his act inflicts shame, disgrace, misfortune upon his fellow believers. Let us make war also upon the Amalek in our midst. Let us meet them that bring shame and disgrace upon us and our religious faith with the fullness of our moral indignation. Wow, I'm inspired. I could almost re-preach that sermon today. I only wish I had that gift of language. But you can feel the conviction in the words. And you can feel with this vision and this insight brought to our community. What's your generation? At Temple Sinai, we come from many different generations. We share the wonders of evolving and growing faith and values. And may we continue to celebrate the gifts that we have, the gifts of our nation. We give and receive as a community, b'dor b'dor, from generation to generation. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Yasher shua. And just a few announcements for this evening. First, just we always want to acknowledge with gratitude that our musical program is made possible with generous support from Edgar Snyder and an anonymous donor. We have a number of classes and events this week. Our regular classes are Torah study tomorrow morning at 8:30, followed by our Minyan service at 9:15. Then we have our Havdalah and Song Circle at 6:30. On Sunday, we have Hartman Learning with Rabbi Crystal. Contact him if you're interested. Wednesday has Parsha study, where we look at the weekly Torah portion, and then that's at noon, and then evening meditation with Rhonda Rosen is on Wednesday evenings. Tomorrow morning, we also celebrate Dalia Farkas becoming Bat Mitzvah. That's at 10:30. And then just keep an eye out. We are getting closer to the end of the Omer. And so our Shavuot and Yizkor service will be on Monday, May 17th at 10 a.m. And there is also a community Tikkun Leil Shavuot or Tikkun Leil before Shavuot on Saturday night, the 15th. And that is hosted through Federation, but it is a community event. And I know I'm going to be teaching one of the slots, as well as many other leaders in our community. So I hope to see you there. We're going to continue with counting the Omer.
So as Rabbi Gorbin said, we're counting the days between Pesach and Shavuot. And it's customary to do it with a special blessing. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la la. Hineni muchana umdumenet לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר. היום 34 יום שהם 4 שבועות ו6 ימים לעומר. Today is the 34th day of the Omer.
We turn to the end of our service, beginning with the words of Aleinu, and I invite you to rise as you're comfortable in body or in spirit. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leyotzer breshit, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
And on this Shabbat, we recall those whose names were sent to us this week, Jean Mazer and Helene Aronoff. We mark the yard sites of Matthew Arkin, Sonny Babkis, Harry Barenfield, Evelyn Berman, Linda Beersdorf, Milton Blank, Rebecca Bleiberg, William Bloomer, Stanley Cohen, Israel J. Davidson, Edward J. Dilworth Jr., Masha Dubin, Joseph East, William Ehrlich, Barnett Fain, Stanley Freed, Elsie Giffen, Doris Dory Glosser Rudolph, Jette Gusen, Daniel Hammerschmidt, Jenny Hanlon, Larry Heller, Shauna Leah King, Edward Kravitz, Esther Landis, Clinton D. Landau, Bessie Laxer, Margaret Levine, Irving Levitt, William Lewis, Jean Liebenthal, Goldie Darling Love, Joshua Myers, Ludwig Oppenheimer, Brenda R. Pierce, Rose Pinsker, Helene Florence France Polhemus, William Schlesinger, Earl Schwartz, Frank Schwartz Sr., Morris Siegel, Jerome Solomon, Liz Steinbach, Annie Stoffman, Helen Tenenhauser, Fanny Tofshinsky, Harry Wadholtz, and Bob Wolf. Recall those who lost their lives this week on Lag BaOmer at Mount Meron in Israel. We recall all of those with no one to remember them, those who have lost their lives to COVID-19 through disaster because of the violence in the world and in the defense of freedom. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivarach yiratei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'yizman kariv yimru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'gudusha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, tamiram be'ama v'yimru amen. V'yishlama rabba min shumaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'ramal v'chuya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved. Amen.
Amen. May our right hand bring us closer to our godliness. May our left hand give us strength to face each day. And before us may our visions light our paths ahead. And behind us may well be our way. All around us is Shekinah. 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 We imagine angels to our right and to our left. Actually, Rabbi Crystal, if you would go back a second. Angels to our right and to our left, before us and behind us, and each one of the names of these angels invites us to come close to God, give us strength, light our way, and bring us healing. Please join with me. May our right hand bring us closer to our godliness. May our left hand give us strength to face each day. And before us may our visions light our paths ahead. And behind us may well-being heal our way. All around us is the presence of God, Shekhinah. All around us is 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 Shekhinah. These are our angels. Next slide. On this Shabbat and wherever we go, may we be blessed by angels surrounding us and the presence of God. Shabbat Shalom.